The signal hunter Marcus Webb adjusted his headphones for the third time in 10 minutes, the static crackling through his ears like distant thunder. The abandoned radio telescope facility stretched before him in the pale moonlight, its massive dish pointing accusingly at the star-filled sky. He'd been tracking the signals for weeks now, electromagnetic pulses that didn't match any known satellite or deep space transmission. His equipment beeped softly as another wave of energy washed over the sensitive receivers. The pattern was too regular to be natural, too complex to be random interference. Marcus pulled his jacket tighter against the cold mountain air and checked his readings again. The source was definitely somewhere beneath the facility. The main building's doors had been chained shut for years, but Marcus had found a service entrance around back. His flashlight cut through the darkness as he navigated corridors filled with dust and forgotten dreams. Old computer terminals sat silent on metal desks, their screens dark and lifeless, but the signals were getting stronger. He followed the electromagnetic trail down a maintenance corridor, past rooms filled with outdated equipment and tangled cables. The facility had been shut down after funding cuts, another casualty of bureaucratic short-sightedness. Now it served as his private laboratory for chasing impossible signals from the void. The corridor ended at a heavy metal door marked with radiation, warnings and clearance levels he'd never seen before. Marcus ran his scanner along the frame, surprised to find no actual radiation. Just more of those strange energy signatures, pulsing like a heartbeat behind the steel. His lockpicks made quick work of the electronic mechanism. The door slid open with a hydraulic hiss, revealing a staircase that descended far deeper than the building's blueprints suggested. Emergency lighting flickered to life automatically, casting everything in an eerie red glow. Marcus descended carefully, his equipment registering energy levels that made his skin tingle. The walls were different here, not concrete and steel, but something that looked almost grown rather than built. Crystalline formations jutted from the surfaces, each one humming with barely contained power. The staircase opened into a vast chamber. That took his breath away. Hexagonal structures rose from the floor like frozen flowers, their surfaces covered in patterns that seemed to shift when he wasn't looking directly at them. The air itself felt charged, making his hair stand on end. At the center of the chamber stood a massive crystalline formation, easily 20 feet tall and perfectly symmetrical. It pulsed with soft blue light, and Marcus realized this was the source of the signals he'd been tracking. As he approached, the crystal's glow intensified, and he could swear he heard something like music in the electromagnetic static. He reached out to touch the surface, and the moment his fingers made contact, the entire chamber erupted in light. The crystalline structures began to resonate, their combined harmonics creating a sound that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. Marcus stumbled backward, his equipment overloading as energy cascaded through the chamber. And then, from within the central crystal, he saw movement. A shadow that looked distinctly humanoid, but wrong somehow. Too tall, too graceful, with proportions that suggested something beautifully alien. The figure seemed to be stirring, awakening after what might have been centuries of sleep. Marcus backed toward the stairs, his scientific curiosity warring with primal fear. Whatever was in that crystal was beginning to emerge, and he had the distinct feeling that his life was about to change forever. The awakening crystal shell cracked like an egg, sending cascades of luminescent fragments across the chamber floor. Naya felt consciousness return in waves, each one bringing new sensations after the long dreamless sleep. Her limbs moved slowly at first, muscles remembering their purpose after centuries of stasis. She stepped from the crystalline cocoon, her bare feet touching cold stone for the first time in ages. The chamber looked different than she remembered, covered in dust and neglect. Where were the other guardians? Where were her people? Memory flooded back in fragments. The great dying. The desperate attempt to preserve what remained of their civilization. She had volunteered to sleep, to wait for the signals that would herald their return. But the chamber was empty, except for dormant crystals and the strange creature cowering near the entrance. Nai studied the being with curious eyes. It was smaller than her people, with pale skin and hair the color of autumn leaves. Its clothing was primitive but functional, and it carried devices that hummed with electromagnetic energy. Most interesting of all, it had awakened her from stasis. Only one of her kind should have been able to do that. Marcus watched in fascination as the alien figure moved with liquid grace across the chamber. She was tall and slender, with skin that seemed to shimmer with its own inner light. Her hair floated around her shoulders as if underwater, and her eyes held depths that spoke of ancient wisdom. She approached him slowly, her movements careful and non-threatening. When she spoke, the words were in a language he didn't recognize. But somehow the meaning filtered through his mind. Her voice was like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "You are not of the bloodline," she said, tilting her head curiously. "Yet you carry the resonance. How is this possible?" Marcus found his voice with effort. "I don't understand. I was tracking radio signals and found this place. I'm a communications specialist, not whatever you think I am." Naya circled him, her nostrils flaring as she caught his scent. Humans were unknown to her, but something about his electromagnetic signature felt familiar. She reached out tentatively, her fingers hovering inches from his face. "May I?" she asked, her voice softer now. Marcus nodded, not trusting himself to. "Speak." When her fingertips touched his temples, the world exploded into shared sensation. He saw glimpses of her memories, a civilization of crystal spires and floating cities. She, in turn, experienced his world through his eyes, the chaos and beauty of human existence. The connection lasted only seconds, but it felt like hours. When she pulled away, both of them were breathing heavily, their eyes wide with wonder and something deeper. "Your people," Naya whispered. "They dream of the stars, but they do not listen to their songs. You are different. You hear the harmonics between worlds." Marcus felt something shift inside him, as if a door had opened in his mind. The chamber around them seemed more alive now, the crystals responding to his presence with gentle pulses of light. He understood, somehow, that he had been changed by the contact. "What happened to your people?" he asked, his voice gentle with concern. Nai. A single quote's expression grew distant, shadows of old pain crossing her features. "They sleep beneath the ground, waiting for the signal that will wake them. But the key to their resurrection was lost when the great ships fell. I was to guard it, to preserve it until the time of returning." She moved to one of the smaller crystals, placing her palm against its surface. The structure responded immediately, projecting holographic images into the air between them. Marcus saw star charts, technical diagrams, and what looked like genetic sequences. "The key is not a thing," Naya continued, her eyes meeting his. "It is a person, someone who carries the resonance in their very essence, someone who can bridge the gap between sleeping and waking." The implications hit Marcus like a physical blow. He stepped backward, shaking his head. "No, I'm just a guy with radio equipment. I'm not some prophesied savior or whatever you're suggesting." Naya moved closer, her hand finding his. Where their skin touched, small sparks of energy danced between them. "The resonance chose you," she said simply, "as it chose me long ago." The connection's days that followed blurred together in a haze of discovery and growing intimacy. Marcus had called in sick to work, unable to explain that he was learning to communicate with an alien guardian in a secret chamber beneath an abandoned facility. Naya proved to be an eager student of human culture, fascinated by everything from his smartphone to his thermos of coffee. They established a routine of sorts. Marcus would arrive each morning with supplies and food, while Naya worked to repair the dormant systems in the chamber. The crystalline structures responded to both their touches now, creating a harmony that neither could achieve alone. "Your people build with metal and stone," Naya observed one afternoon, watching Marcus fidget with a broken cable. "They shape the world to their will rather than growing with it." Marcus paused in his work, considering her words. "Maybe that's why we're so restless. We're always fighting against nature instead of working with it." Naya smiled, and the expression transformed her entire face. "You understand more than most of your kind. This is why the resonance chose you." She moved to sit beside him on the crystal formation they'd claimed as their makeshift workspace. A proximity sent warmth through Marcus's chest, and he found himself studying the way light played across her features. "Tell me about your world," he said softly. "Before the great dying." Naya's eyes grew distant, but this time the sadness was tempered with fondness. "We lived in harmony with the planet's song. Our cities floated on crystalline platforms, drawing energy from the electromagnetic fields that flow through all living things. We could travel between worlds by following the resonance paths between stars." "It sounds beautiful," Marcus said, meaning it. It was, but we grew complacent, too focused on our own perfection. We didn't notice the darkness growing in the space between worlds until it was too late. She leaned against his shoulder, and Marcus felt his heart skip. Despite everything strange about their situation, this felt natural, right? "The shadow consumed entire star systems," Naya continued. "It fed on electromagnetic energy, growing stronger with each world it devoured. We fought it, but our weapons were useless against something that existed partially outside normal space." Marcus turned to face her, their faces now inches apart. "But you survived. You found a way to hide." "We scattered across the galaxy, searching for worlds with natural resonance barriers. This planet called to us, its electromagnetic field providing perfect camouflage. We went into stasis, hoping to wait out the darkness. And now?" Naya's hand found his cheek, her touch electric against his skin. "Now there is you. Someone who can hear the planet's song and help my people wake safely." The kiss happened without conscious thought, a natural culmination of the connection growing between them. Marcus felt energy flow through the contact, their electromagnetic fields synchronizing in perfect harmony. The crystals around them sang. In response, their combined light bathing the chamber in ethereal beauty dot. When they broke apart, both were glowing softly, their skin charged with shared energy. Marcus could feel Naya's heartbeat as if it were his own, could sense her emotions as clearly as his own thoughts. "The bonding," Naya whispered, her voice filled with wonder. "I thought it was impossible between our kinds. What does it mean?" Marcus asked, though part of him already knew. "It means we are connected now, truly connected. Your resonance and mine joined together. We can find my people and wake them safely." She showed him then, through their new connection, the locations of the sleeping guardians. Dozens of them, scattered across the planet in hidden chambers like this one, each one waiting for the signal that would call them back to life. But as they explored their newfound bond, neither noticed the electromagnetic signature of their joining propagating outward through the planet's field. Somewhere in a government facility hundreds of miles away, sensitive equipment registered the unprecedented energy spike and began tracking its source. Their private world was about to become very public. The pursuer, Helena Cross, stared at the readouts with growing excitement, her fingers dancing across the keyboard as she refined the tracking algorithms. The energy signature was unlike anything in their databases, a complex harmonic pattern that seemed to shift and evolve as she watched. "Director," she called to her supervisor, "you need to see this." Director James Kane approached her station, his weathered face creased with concern. Helena had been tracking anomalous electromagnetic events for the past 5 years, ever since. The first unexplained signals had been detected. This was different, though. This was massive. The source is approximately 200 miles northeast, Helena reported, her voice barely containing her enthusiasm. The energy levels are off the charts, and the pattern suggests some kind of artificial intelligence or advanced technology. Kane studied the displays, his expression grim. Could it be foreign military? Negative? The harmonic frequencies are completely outside human technological capability. Sir, I believe we're looking at genuine extraterrestrial activity. Within hours, Helena found herself leading a joint military scientific task force toward the source of the signals. The convoy moved through the night, their modified vehicles loaded with detection equipment and containment protocols. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to make the discovery of the century. Meanwhile, Marcus and Naya felt the approaching danger like a storm on the horizon. Their connection had grown stronger over the past weeks, allowing them to sense electromagnetic disturbances across vast distances. The artificial signatures of military technology were unmistakable. They're coming, Naya said, her hand finding Marcus's in the crystalline chamber. Your people have detected our resonance. Marcus felt a chill that had nothing to do with the underground temperature. We need to leave. Now. Naya moved to the central crystal, her palms pressed against its surface. The structure responded immediately, its stored energy flowing into her body until she glowed like a star. I can mask our signatures temporarily, but we must reach the other guardians before they wake. If they emerge without proper preparation, the shock could kill them. They gathered what supplies they could carry and escaped through a service tunnel that led to the mountain's eastern slope. Behind them, the chamber's crystals dimmed to barely perceptible levels, hiding their presence from electronic detection. Helena's team reached the facility just as dawn broke over the mountains. Their instruments led them directly to the service entrance Marcus had used, and within minutes they were descending into the hidden chamber. Incredible, Helena breathed, studying the crystalline formations. The technology is completely integrated with the geological structure. It's as if they grew the chamber rather than built it. But the energy readings were fading fast. Whatever had been here was gone, leaving only residual traces of its presence. Helena ordered her team to begin documentation while she studied the central crystal formation. Ma'am, one of her technicians called out, we're detecting trace biologicals. Human and something else. Recent occupation, maybe within the last few hours. Helena's pulse quickened. A human in contact with alien technology? The implications were staggering. Begin tracking immediately. Whatever was here, it can't have gotten far. Marcus and Naya moved through the mountain forests with desperate urgency, their connection allowing them to avoid the search teams closing in around them. Naya's knowledge of the planet's electromagnetic fields guided them along paths that would mask their signatures from electronic detection. There, Naya pointed to a valley hidden between two peaks. Another chamber with 3 of my people sleeping inside. We must reach them before the hunters do. They pressed on through the difficult terrain, their bond growing stronger with each shared hardship. Marcus found himself changing, his human limitations falling away as Naya's energy flowed through him. He could run farther, see more clearly, feel the planet's electromagnetic pulse beneath his feet. Behind them, Helena's team followed the faint trail through the forest, their pursuit relentless and methodical. The director had made it clear that failure was not an option. Whatever was out there, they would find it and bring it back for Studygot as night fell. Marcus and Naya reached the hidden valley. The entrance to the second chamber was concealed behind a waterfall, its crystalline door responding to their combined touch. But as they stepped inside, Helena's team crested the ridge above them. their detection equipment finally locking onto the energy signature they'd been following. The final confrontation was about to begin. The choicest chamber beneath the waterfall was smaller than the first, but no less magnificent. 3 crystalline pods stood in a triangular formation, each one containing a sleeping guardian. Naya approached them with reverence, her hands glowing, as she prepared to begin the awakening process. Carefully, she murmured to Marcus, the resonance must be perfectly balanced, or they will not survive the transition. Marcus placed his hands on the central control crystal, feeling the familiar tingle of energy flow through his body. Together, they began the delicate process of raising the sleepers from their millennia-long slumber dot above them. Helena's team had surrounded the waterfall, their equipment detecting massive energy fluctuations from somewhere behind the cascading water. Thermal imaging showed humanoid figures moving in what appeared to be a hidden space. "Breach Protocol Alpha," Helena ordered, her voice tight with anticipation. "I want containment fields ready the moment we make contact." Her team moved with military precision, locating the concealed entrance and preparing their equipment. Helena felt her heart racing as she prepared to make first contact with what might be humanity's first confirmed extraterrestrial intelligence. The first guardian emerged from stasis with a graceful stretch, her movements fluid and otherworldly. She was tall like Naya, with skin that seemed to absorb and reflect light in equal measure. Her eyes opened, revealing depths that spoke of ancient wisdom. "Kira," Naya breathed, embracing her sister guardian. "You have slept so long." Kira's gaze found Marcus, and her expression shifted to one of confusion and wonder. "A human? But how is this possible?" "The resonance chose him," Naya explained quickly. "He can bridge the gap between our kinds." The second guardian, a male called Joran, emerged with less grace, his movements stiff from the long sleep. The third, a young female named Zara, seemed to shimmer into existence rather than wake, her form slightly translucent. The others? "Kira," asked, her voice heavy with hope and fear. "Sleeping still," Naya replied, "but we have little time. The humans have found us." As if summoned by her words, the chamber's entrance erupted in light and sound. Helena's team poured through the opening, their weapons and containment equipment at the ready. The lead soldiers immediately established a perimeter while Helena stepped forward, her scanner recording everything. "Incredible," she whispered, staring at the assembled guardians. "Absolutely incredible." Marcus stepped protectively in front of Naya, his body thrumming with energy he was only beginning to understand. "Stay back. They're not hostile." Helena's gaze fixed on him, recognition dawning in her eyes. "Marcus Webb, communications specialist with the National Radio Observatory. You've been missing for 3 weeks." "I wasn't missing," Marcus replied, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. "I was learning." "Learning what, exactly?" Helena asked, her scanner now focused on him. "My God, the energy readings coming from you are off the charts. What have they done to you?" Naya stepped forward, her presence immediately commanding attention. When she spoke, her voice carried harmonics that seemed to resonate in everyone's. "Bones, we have done nothing to him that he did not choose. Your people have sought the stars for generations, but you have never learned to listen to their songs." Marcus heard our call and answered. Helena's excitement was barely contained. "You're from another world, another star system. This is the greatest discovery in human history." "It could be," Kira interjected, her ancient eyes studying the humans with careful assessment. "But your people are not ready. You seek to possess rather than understand, to control rather than commune." The standoff stretched taut, weapons trained on the guardians while they stood calm and unafraid. Marcus felt the weight of decision pressing down on him, the future balanced on a knife's edge. "You have a choice," Naya said softly, her hand finding his. "Come with us, and help wake our people safely. Or remain here and watch your kind destroy what they cannot comprehend." Helena stepped forward urgently. "Marcus, think about what you're doing. You're human. Your place is with your own species." Marcus looked at Helena, then at the soldiers surrounding them, and finally at Naya. Through their connection, he could feel her love, her hope, her desperate need to save her people. He could also sense the locations of the other sleeping guardians, scattered across the world like seeds waiting for the right season. "I was human," Marcus said finally, "but I'm something more now, something new." He turned to Naya, his decision crystallizing. "Show me the way home." Naya smiled, and the chamber filled with resonant light. The guardians joined hands in a circle, their combined energy creating a portal that shimmered with starlight. Through it, Marcus could see another world, one where crystal cities floated among the clouds and beings of light danced between the stars. "Wait!" Helena called out, but her voice was lost in the harmonic crescendo dot. As the portal stabilized, Marcus took Naya's hand and stepped forward. Behind them, the other guardians followed, their forms becoming translucent as they prepared to. "Leave this world behind. The others will wake when the time is right," Naya said, her voice carrying clearly despite the growing energy storm. "Perhaps then your kinds will be ready to meet as equals." The portal collapsed with a sound like distant thunder, leaving Helena and her team alone in the empty chamber. The crystals had gone dark, their energy spent, but the readings on Helena's equipment showed lingering traces of the most beautiful and terrifying power she had ever encountered. Somewhere among the stars, Marcus began his new life as the first human to join an alien civilization. The resonance between worlds had found its bridge, and the future, uncertain as it was, sang with infinite possibility. The sleeping guardians scattered across Earth would wake in their own time, when humanity was ready to listen to the songs between stars. Until then, they would dream of the day when two worlds might meet not as conqueror and conquered, but as partners in the great symphony of existence. And in the silence of the empty chamber, Helena made her choice too. She would wait and watch and prepare her people for the day when the music would call them home.